What we're going to be going into today is we're going to be continuing on through Brood War Tournament number 5. It's not complete yet, but we do have some of the upper bracket finals that have been completed, so we're going to go into that. We're going to watch Genesis versus Quim, and then if there's time, I think that might be a TVT, so I don't know how long it's going to take, but if there's time, then we're going to go into Brood War Tournament number 7, where we have a ton of games on. We've got Fire versus Quim, we've got IJ versus Mevius, and then we've got some of the later brackets as well, all the way up to the finals, but we don't have the finals yet, so the finals should be done here soon, and then potentially, if I can get my hands on the replays, in the next few days, we'll do the Brood War Tournament number 4 finals. The Brood War tournaments have really been cooking. We'll be doing some StarCraft 2 probably soon. But right now, for these tournaments, just trying to get the Brood War tournaments out of the way, or at least somewhat caught up. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and check it out. The first map is going to be Radion. And this is going to be, I forgot what I said. I think it's Genesis versus Quim. Alrighty, here we go. So we have Genesis up in the top right under the alias of Makisis. He's going to be our red Terran in the top right. Oh no, the shift tab is making them both red. So, okay, Makisis is going to be purple. And then we've got Quim as orange in the top left. So it is a TVT, so we'll have to see how this goes, how long it's going to take. And how long this series is going to take, and that'll kind of determine how many different series we actually cast tonight, because it is pretty late. Anyway, we are on Radion. On this map, there are no eggs on the ramps into the natural. There are eggs at the choke to the natural, and when it comes to key terrain, this intersection right here, and then this bridge after the third base are kind of really key engagement points. Also notice there's a lot of dead space behind kind of these elevated central expansions, and it's kind of tough to spot drops or anything that are flying across. And I think looking at their spawns being horizontal spawns like this is something that we may see taken advantage of. You can have Goliaths here, turrets here, whatever, and the drops can still go left and right across this dead area. So that'll be something we keep an eye on. Other than that, those are kind of the biggest things. One other thing to kind of note is a lot of maps have, man, these guys are really chatting it up. Mineral only expansions as kind of like the natural third or the triangle third. That's not the case on this map. And I just wanted to point that out. So let's go ahead and kill the map. Let's go ahead and check in on our players, see what they're both up to, other than just talking nonstop. I didn't even see what they're talking about. They're talking about being Portuguese, etc. So always fun. Right now, both players are starting off, completely the same. Very standard Terran barracks supply depot refinery openings. And as we kind of approach the 13 supply mark, we're seeing both players send out their scouting units. All while typing a full conversation to each other. SCVs are going to high five here. Quim's just a little bit faster than Genesis. Second supply depot going down for both players. Both players also building completely in their base. Not restricting any, chokes with any of their buildings or wall-ins of the sort. We do have a factory started for both players as well. And we do have Genesis actually producing a Marine. Oh, okay, never mind. Quim's is already out. So is Genesis's. Okay, so completely identical builds so far. Genesis's SCV is heading back, so is Quim's, after being repelled by the Marines. Barracks float for Quim. We'll see if Genesis keeps his around or uses it at all. No, he's going to float it off as well. We'll see if the players end up putting him down here in the chokes, or if they send him over to start scouting. Get some extra vision for the inevitable siege tanks that are coming. Both players are expanding. So yeah, just straight up factory expand for both players. Very nice and standard openings from each. So, I mean, if you're stumbling across this stream at all, these are StarCraft Underground casts. It's a casual league. It's fully Discord oriented, and it has StarCraft 2 and Brood War tournaments. Internal promotion system for players that do well in these brackets. There's always a bracket to sign up for, and every match that you are paired on in the brackets, you have a week to complete. So it's really great for playing with players in Europe, or if you have a busy schedule, having the time to get the game scheduled and knocked out. So that's what we're casting today. Both players putting down a second factory. Now Genesis is getting his, so we're seeing our first deviation. Genesis is getting his machine shop on his initial factory, whereas Quim is massing a little bit more earlier vultures. Third factory going down for Genesis. Genesis's expansion just a little bit faster there. But both players looking good. Vulture count is already up at 4. Lagging a little behind on vulture count, but that'll get caught up here real fast. The machine shop for Genesis is upgrading speed. And that is before the machine shop is, you know, it's about 2/3 done for Quim so far. But by the time there's a vulture engagement, his will be up and the upgrade probably up as well. Third factory going down for Quim. And both players just shooting the crap out of each other's barracks. So I like this little technique here that Genesis is using, putting a supply depot right here in the choke. That's just limiting the surface area and making it easier to block or mess up the AI and the pathing for any vulture run-bys that may be attempted, especially as he starts rallying tanks down here, which hasn't happened yet. It looks like both players are going very heavily into vultures as opposed to any type of like Goliath or tank kind of vulture counter build. Now, I don't believe Genesis has mines yet. Quim is getting his mines up. I don't think he did speed. So we're going to have fast vultures versus mine vultures. And in the vulture fight, the speed is going to be much more valuable, at least until tanks and, you know, Goliaths and stuff start entering the field. All right, so Quim's going to be rolling out here. He's going to start mining up his natural choke. We do get initial volleys started off by Genesis. Now, these Marines need to be careful because a lot of these vultures might go down. Ooh, okay, good mine there. Taking out a vulture along with the Marines. Huge engagement here. You're definitely one-sided towards Quim, I'd say. That initial mine doing a lot of damage to these vultures and his vulture count just being so healthy. So Genesis is going to lose all of his vultures there. He's going to have to run back. He's got 3 going into the natural. They're going to get here. They're going to utilize this choke, right? But there are so many on the way. And also, I don't know if it's hyper important right now, but Genesis did lose his barracks, whereas Quim was able to save his and start floating it back. Okay, so the vultures are stopping a little short. Defender's advantage is allowing Genesis to resupply his vulture count. So it's not entirely too small. But Quim's going to take this time and start mining the crap out of this front choke, right? He's going to start that initial containment as these tanks start pumping out. Now, I'm not seeing tanks yet for Quim. Genesis is getting tanks and siege mode. In this tank, once this tank shows up, these vultures aren't going to be able to really get in or do much. But until an academy is built and we start getting scans, this tank's not going to really be able to leave either with all these mines present. More vultures being rallied from Quim's base. Quim also getting an engineering bay. And Genesis moving into starport tech and getting some wraiths. Genesis also getting his mines up and researched. And starting that tank count. So he's got 2 tanks on the field. He knows that the mine tech is out. He knows that there's likely mines scattered all over this entire choke. So he knows he can't move out yet. But if he starts building up a decent wraith count, the wraiths can definitely thin out these vultures or just go straight across for economic damage. Now Quim was Smart, as we mentioned, did get an engineering bay up. So definitely potential for getting turrets set up. Okay, the vultures are running in. They're jumping. They're starting to drop mines here, constricting the movement of these tanks, potentially getting some mines off and into these tanks, but they are being fired. I'm like stumbling all over my words trying to do this. Too much action to take place at once to talk through. But the tanks end up holding that position. But a couple good mines there did take out one and severely damage this one. So Genesis is going to be getting the repair there on that tank, and also some of these vultures. Still sitting at 3 factory. He does have double starport Wraith underway. And he is keeping these Wraiths back here with the starport as well. So might be a little bit of a surprise. We're not seeing any anti-air yet on the side of Quim, but Quim is just amassing tons of factories. He's going up to 6 factories at this point. Did hear the siege there, so siege mode was completed. We have the siege tanks all up, good to go. So Quim is going to need a little bit more than just vultures to push into this choke point now. We also see turrets being built. So Quim has forecasted that you know, the worst thing that could happen to him right now would be an air assault, and he is getting set up for that in anticipation of some wraiths. He's also getting his 3rd base down here. And you can see, like I was talking earlier, right? Like controlling these intersections, which seems really obvious, but like we're seeing it in action, all these mines and everything. So the vultures are diving in. They're getting right on top of these tanks. These mines might be huge. Some mine explosions going off. This tank's still alive, getting extra volleys. And with these vultures and tanks, Quim's vulture force is going to just be shredded. Now the vultures are moving out for Genesis. You know, he can't move out with the tanks yet because there's just too many mines. The vultures are outnumbering the vultures for Quim. Quim's +1 weapons not quite done yet, but his will finish just a tad ahead of Genesis's. And now the vultures starting to try to get some map control here for Genesis, moving around the center of the map, heading over, checking on this 3rd, knowing that he's been contained for a little bit, and setting up mines all around this intersection and right across this bridge. He's going to move in here, kill this SCV right before that command center was constructed. This is going to be heavily delayed. Now these vultures, it would take a lifetime to freaking kill that CC, and these ones may not be going to be around for a whole lot longer. He is going to have to regroup, retreat a little bit, as Quim's vulture count has just been replenished so fast, and that's as a result of these 6 factories. He's pumping out 6 vultures at a time. All right, now the initiative swings back over towards Quim. Now what's he got going down here? So he's got vultures, a vulture dropping mines at these potential future expansions. He's got an SCV up here in the middle. The one thing that's really going for Genesis, though, is this tank count, and we still haven't seen these Wraiths activated. He's up to 7 Wraiths right now. It takes 6 Wraiths to one-shot an SCV. And so if he can dive with these at some crucial point, I think that he might be set up to do a lot of damage. We got mines being laid on mines. Another push here from Quim. He's going to send these vultures in, but there is more tanks than there was last time. And these tanks are just shredding these vultures like popcorn, especially this one up top, sitting there with 3 kills, 5 kills, 6 kills, 1 kill. Tank's doing tons of damage. Oh no, this tank's definitely going to go down to these mines. Getting drawn out there by Quim's vultures. I really appreciate Quim using all of the mines at his disposal too. I always feel like it's such a waste when vultures go out and they die when they still have a full payload. So getting those mines laid, I mean, you can just see the orange everywhere. Makes the mini-map very congested to cast from, but overall, let's go ahead and take a look at the bases again. So we're still, where are we at? We're at 4, 6, we're at 7 factories for Quim. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 starports going down all at once, and this 3rd base has been built and saturated, so it was only delayed for a very short period of time. And also what Quim is doing is he's taking this middle expansion, which is a little bit risky, right? Because we have all of this. Oh, where'd the Wraiths go? I lost them. Oh my gosh, they're going to go up here. Remember that dead space I was talking about? They're going to be able to sneak right over here and just annihilate these SCVs. There's no Goliaths being built as of yet. He just started making siege tanks. And these wraiths are just going to absolutely shred. With this many wraiths, you can even just target down these turrets as well. Now you have more turrets being built here in the main. The main was not very secured against air. Genesis focusing down this tank, killing the control tower there, getting some of these SCVs. These wraiths might just run away with this and do huge economic damage to Quim, but Quim does have that third base up already. CC going down over here for Genesis, but there is a mine there that's going to let Quim know. Alright, and we start having the Goliath pop out. Now, Goliath shred wraiths, but there's no comsats for Quim. So I didn't see if Cloak had been researched. It doesn't look like it has been. But these wraiths have been sitting around for a long time. If he did have Cloak, the amount of energy on these things, like they could just cloak forever. But Goliaths are really strong against wraiths, so he's going to have to retreat. Did get a good amount of damage. He did knock Quim's SCV count to 45 to the 58 for Genesis. And I don't know where he's going with this command center. He's just flying all over the place. Maybe trying to take like a ninja base, but none of that's going to work. There's mines at every single one of these. And the vulture count is just absurd here for Quim. But vulture counts, though helpful, he needs to start getting that tank count up or that wraith count up. Because if he starts bringing these wraiths in, right, he's just going to pick off these vultures super fast. Look at this one wigging out. Alright, so we have one siege tank here, one Goliath here. The wraiths are going to be able to just target that down. Man, I really wish he had Cloak. I feel like if he had Cloak, he would have been able to kill every SCV on the map. So the one thing I'm also kind of concerned about for Genesis is he's floating a good amount of minerals, and he doesn't quite have the production capability that we see over here for Quim, right? So the remax potential is just so much slower. And also, since the wraiths have been exposed, they've been presented, we're starting to see comstats go up, the academies be built. So that element of surprise is now gone. The ninja base has been set up over here, but there is a mine. And Genesis is taking these wraiths over and just kind of looking around. We do see a vulture run by. It's going to go over here and try to knock out this base. I imagine the wraiths are going to come back and kill these, but not before the SCVs that were here are knocked out. Okay, so he just opts to lift the CC instead. We do have an engagement up here. These tanks should make short work of Quim's ground army. But these wraiths are going to be a little bit annoying. So we do see Genesis bringing his wraiths back up here to help deal with this. And you can see up here in the production tab, Genesis is going towards battlecruiser tech, which is going to really force the issue for Goliaths for Quim. Now Genesis also realizing that Cloak would be very useful around this time and is starting that research. Man, such a high wraith count. Ooh, nice turret placement there. Good amount of Goliaths is going to be very dangerous for these wraiths. They're going to have to pull back. Still no comsats for Genesis. We have mined out of the main. So right now Genesis is only mining on one base. He's doing some long distance stuff. He was trying to land the CC, but all of these mines here proving to be very difficult. And without those comsats, he can't scan to get these mines out of here. So it looks like he might just run a tank through. I don't know. Whole bunch of Goliaths showing up. Now that's one bummer about opening with the wraiths. Yeah, he's just gonna run through with these tanks and some vultures, clear these mines the good old-fashioned way. Ooh, does take a hit there, but luckily it doesn't die. He can repair that back up. So Quim has recovered economically from the initial damage from the wraith attack. He's sitting at 61 SCVs on 4 bases. I like Quim's position here at the moment. Genesis being forced to mine kind of awkwardly until he gains like full security of this base. Nice strong point here from Quim. This fight looks like it'll go in the favor of Genesis, but he is losing a good amount of his wraiths. Now, hopefully he can keep these battle cruisers alive, but there's a lot of Goliaths and some wraiths coming over here. I'd really like him to pull these back. One battle cruiser goes down. These Goliaths are just shredding everything. The entire Air Force just pretty much annihilated from this this Goliath pack. Sitting at 2 battle cruisers remaining. He is up to 3 starports, but still sitting on 3 factories and slowly mining out of his natural. Meanwhile, for Quim, still has some resources in the main, essentially gone. Natural is still healthy. He's got a 3rd. He's got a 4th. Good strong point here and strong point here that are really kind of establishing the contain to this corner of the map. Genesis has been able to readjust his command center placement. So giving him an opportunity to get some more cash and get back in the game. A lot of SCVs being transferred over here. Not a huge army, right? This whole defense is really predicated on 3 siege tanks, 2 battle cruisers, and 3 vultures. And like we were talking earlier, like the Remax capability here is pretty slow. But Genesis doing what he can. More battle cruisers, more wraiths. All right, now we see the wraiths coming in. 6 of them for Quim. I imagine we're going to see a pretty decent sized push here at some point. If Quim's able to take this base out, then I think he's got a very strong shot of ending this game rather quickly. He has transitioned to tank production, maybe feeling he's got enough Goliaths to just support them as they march forward. I mean, between the Goliaths and this many wraiths, like, he's got a point. Coming in here, he's going to start picking off some of the tanks. We do see the naturals mined out for Genesis. It's a tough spot to fight from. Good mine there. Picks off that Goliath. This barracks is going to go down so fast. Oh no, the wraiths are coming in here. If they knock out these siege tanks, this base will be pretty much undefended. And here we go. Here comes the unsiege. The Goliaths are moving forward. They're targeting down these battle cruisers. Going to get 1 right off the bat. Oh, but it escapes with 14 HP left. Some turrets going down to help fight off these wraiths, but it's really these Goliaths that are going to just shred everything. Another battle cruiser being targeted down. It dies. There's 2 left. 2 more reinforcing. And really, I just don't think there's enough. Up here in the north, we have the rest of the tanks and the Goliaths that were at that strong point pushing towards the natural. Looks like Quim's running away with this game. Huge siege up. Yeah, I think that's about it. Yep, and that's it. Genesis throws in the towel. GG. Let's go into game number 2. That was a really fun TVT. All right. So, back in the upper bracket semifinals for Brood War Tournament 5. We are on game number 2, and the next game is going to be on Death Valley. One of my favorite maps to watch, least favorite to play on. Except for Oldamok or Roaring Currents or whatever it's called now. That map I just don't get. Alrighty, let's see if Shift Tab works this time. Nope, gives us both red. Down here in the bottom right, we have Quim, Purple Terran. And up left, in the top left, we have Teal Terran, which is Genesis, under the alias of Mechasis. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Death Valley. Death Valley is wonky as all hell. It is a 2-player map. It has a natural expansion right outside the main, but it's at the ramp there's 2 assimilators. And these assimilators are used for movement restriction, right? So if you destroy these, the gas underneath is larger than the assimilators themselves, which is weird, and it makes it so you can't move through. So if you kill these, this becomes a wall, and nothing can go through except for like ghosts. So then you have the natural, and you have this entire upper quadrant that you can run around. But everything in the middle is cut off, so you can't get to the bottom half of the map. This is open space, cliff, elevated terrain no one ever uses, open space. So it's a completely like separate quadrant. Now in the bottom half of the map, you have minerals that can be mined out. Each one of these patches has 48 minerals. And this is where the majority of the expansions are on the map. So there's really like 2 different places you can go. And because of that and how it's sealed off, in a lot of matchups you see an emphasis on like air. And you also, because also, let me point out, this is kind of dead space or very droppable on both sides. And so with Terran, I've seen a lot of opportunities where people will drop siege tanks up here, or they'll mine out the minerals and they'll head to this area and set up siege tanks and kind of work up this way into the opponent's base. So we'll have to see how it goes. The reason why I like this map is because it allows for so much creativity. And it's usually like strange positioning shenanigans. Zoom in a little bit. Let's see what Genesis has got going on. It looks like both players, obviously at this point in the game, just doing the same thing. Same 3 buildings. What I'd be curious to see is, last game we saw Genesis really kind of go into the air battle early. He did his 3 factories, but instead of expanding upon the factory count, he really went all in on the starports. And from Quim, we saw him go the same 3 factory build early on, but then expanded to 5, and then I think ultimately like 9 or something like that. And his tactic was much more mass vultures, mines everywhere, and expand quicker than the opponent. So he had like 4 expansions, or 4 bases, I should say, when Genesis was still on 2. So we'll see how this game plays out differently. Factory going down for both players. Second factory for Genesis. Second factory for Quim. And this is where we likely see some deviations. Actually, to point out, I think last game both players did a single factory expand. So we're already seeing difference from last game, which is not entirely surprising. It's a 2-player map, right? It allows for a lot more early aggression because you know exactly where they're at. So like 3-player or 3-factory vulture makes a good amount of sense here. So it looks like we have 3 factories going down for Genesis, whereas we have 2 factories but a machine shop on 1 for Quim. And an armory. So we may see, oh no, I'm sorry, the armory is up here for Genesis. Interesting. So I'm wondering if he'll initially start off with some vultures and then go into like a mass Goliath build, which is good, but tanks are really good against Goliaths. But like I was saying earlier on this map as well, there is a little bit of an assumption that air may be something that you want to go into because it just allows for so much increased mobility as you go from both halves of the map. Quim's scouting SCV kind of kicked away. It's going to be building an engineering bay down here, but it's not going to last very long. I imagine these vultures or marine is going to see it. Maybe not. They might walk right by. They're going to park right here at the natural. They do see it, so they'll kill the SCV, and that gets canceled right away. So from Genesis, we do see a lot of Goliaths coming out, which is great if Quim was going heavy, heavy vulture, right? So last game we saw Quim go heavy, heavy vulture, and I imagine that's why Genesis is going so heavily into Goliaths, in addition to the air potential that we were talking earlier. But Quim seems to have kind of the right composition for this. Now, if the Goliaths can get up on top of the tanks, they can definitely knock them out. But if siege mode gets completed and these get parked outside the ramp for Genesis, I think he might be in some trouble. And we don't have mines yet for either player either. We don't even have a machine shop for Genesis. He's going pretty all in on these Goliaths. Alright, so we have our first real engagement. Goliaths targeting down some of these vultures, but the tanks are just shredding the Goliaths. Really a great kind of build counter here from Quim. You can see, though, like, if he was going mass vultures, how these Goliaths just tear through him like paper. Alright, see. So the Goliaths are going to get on top. They're not useless against tanks. They just take so much damage. The vultures are all gone. These Goliaths likely going to catch up and kill this one tank, I would imagine. But we have another tank, and siege mode is complete here. So this is going to push Genesis back. Can he snipe this one tank? Can he just get in there and get one shot? He does not. And so Quim is going to be able to save that tank and perch up here on the high ground. Barracks is floating around. With this many Goliaths, the barracks is likely not going to stick around for long. And I don't know where Genesis's barracks is. It might have died. Oh no, it's over here. It's hanging out at the natural, seeing that there's no expansion yet for Quim. Yeah, we'll see if these Goliaths can make some quick work of this barracks. Yeah, it's gone. Then kills that vulture, but this many tanks. 5 tanks. What is this? Frickin' 9 Goliaths? It doesn't look too good. Oh, and you rarely ever see this piece of terrain used. Oh no, this is such a good engagement for Quim. These tanks are just going to absolutely shred these Goliaths and completely deny any use of pretty much this entire square from Genesis this game. So I'm going to show the map real quick because no one ever uses this piece of terrain, but there is a elevated piece of terrain right here that essentially connects both naturals. And I love that Quim is utilizing it to perch up some sieged tanks because you can't use this natural now. Like, it's just gone. Now, Genesis was building a machine shop, canceled it, and looks like he's moving his factory to a different location. Let me go ahead and kill the map again. See what the players see. This is looking bad for Genesis right now. Ooh, now I'm liking that he's moving it because these siege tanks, in combination with any type of scans or anything, are going to be able to see this. Okay, so we're going to see these assimilators come into play. So Genesis is basically saying, okay, this isn't going so hot. Let's kill these and make it so you can't run up here. So already this corridor has been shrunk. I don't think a tank could make it through here. Maybe a vulture. And now nothing can, right? The only unit that can make it through here is a ghost. Like in the game. Now an expansion has gone down for Quim. Genesis a little bit on the back foot here. Going into Mass Goliaths, not very effective against tanks. This SCV's working double time right now, repairing everything he can. Quim sitting on 2 factories, 1 barracks. Really just 2 factories, he's not using the barracks. He just had to rebuild it because it was killed. Where Genesis is on 3 factories. So Genesis is starting to mine out these minerals so that he can expand towards the lower part of the map. And I think Quim is expecting that. He's sending his engineering bay over here to scout and keep an eye on that natural. And look at this, the tank's poking up, getting vision. Oh, how annoying. He might be able to siege this factory. Definitely that one Goliath. It's gone. Alright, so Genesis is going to have to lift up this factory and pretty much play on this half of his base. Oh, this is so miserable. But he's definitely not out of this game. If he can open this up and get down here, really the biggest threat, I think, to Genesis, outside of just fighting on the bottom half of the map, is a dropship just ferrying things over. Okay, so it's been opened up. Genesis is going to start his expansion here, getting his second base. Now, Quim has done the same. I don't know if he floated this command center or if he glitched workers through here. You can glitch workers through mineral patches with some movement techniques. And this engineering bay is going to go down. But it did kind of what it needed to do. It came over here. It showed Quim that Genesis is playing on this half of the map, and he's undoubtedly going to have to send something down here to defend or get really aggressive and go up here. I love that he's making an expansion here. He's taking this, even if it doesn't survive for like a super long time, it will still eat away at the minerals that are available for Genesis. If this happens to go into like a mega long game, that's not nothing, right? So he's getting this mined out a little bit to hurt Genesis's future economy if he happens to retake this. Setting up turrets as well so no one can drop, really contain any air movement to the southern portion of the main. And you can see here, right? So Quim is aware Genesis is now playing on the southern half of the map and is moving the vast majority of his units down here to defend and potentially push from this direction. Even bring some back from this area. Genesis barracks still floating around out here. And we do have a starport going down for Quim somewhere. There it is. So, I would guess we're going to see dropships. I don't think he wants to go Wraiths when Genesis has been going so heavily into Goliaths. Genesis has gotten his academy up. He's gotten his comsats established on his bases. And he even has a third CC built up here that he built on the high ground. Now, I'm not sure what he's looking to accomplish with this pure Goliath force. It looks like he's just kind of keeping an eye out for other expansions, kind of containing Quim to the best that he can. And if there is a push with all these tanks, he might be able to delay it and force some sieges. This is just absurd, though. Okay, Genesis getting his third base set up down here. It is going to be spotted by this vulture and delayed. Another CC going down to the base just catty corner. And this base, generally really hard to keep. Oh my gosh. This engineering bay providing just enough vision to get some shots off on a tank. But this siege tank, able to knock out 2 of them. So it looks like Genesis might be able to retake this area. If he gets these tanks back up on this cliff, he can deny this base from Quim. So Genesis definitely not out of it. Alright. The siege tanks, really the whole army from Quim has been removed from this location. Now I don't think Genesis is aware of it. But as he moves his siege tanks up, he'll be able to do a lot of damage to the stuff down here. Now, one thing I'm curious about, I don't know if mines would poke through these. Not really sure. Big move out here on the south. I imagine this is probably defensive in nature. A lot of Goliaths over here. Cool game so far. This is fun. You can see why I love this map to watch games and why it's so crazy to play on. Alright, engineering bay is going to come up here. It's going to give vision. These siege tanks are going to get a free snipe on a Goliath here any moment. Boom, gone. Sayonara Goliath. And Genesis is just working on catching up on his economy. I have a feeling he felt very behind. And he is a little bit, right? He's down 12 workers. About 17 supply. Both players have about equal army size, though. And Genesis is really starting to just pump out these tanks. But let's go ahead and look over at Quim's base. He's got a science facility down. He's got his second starport being constructed. These Goliaths are just going to shred these vultures. No mines placed. Alright. So what's the base count here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4 for Quim. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Genesis. Genesis really turning this around. Genesis is... We've seen him do some crazy things on this cast already when it comes to being completely contained into one base. Like, he will make things happen. He will get out. He is a very resilient, tough to kill Terran. Quim with a ton of tanks though. I'm really curious. Oh, and he's going BC. Okay, this could be a problem. But the good thing that's going for Quim right now, or Genesis rather, is he has an F ton of Goliaths. Now these Goliath numbers are being dwindled a little bit by some of these attacks, like that engagement right there. And Genesis has been transitioning into siege tanks. So we'll have to see how this goes. Now I do like Genesis is getting a ton of factories up. He's got this economy for the time being. Spend that money, let's turn it into units. And let's get an advantage. Right now the supply advantage is greatly in favor of Quim, sitting at 140 to 109. But you can see Genesis has overtaken the worker count for the moment. But this push looks really strong. I don't think this base is going to survive. It's going to get knocked out with just a single volley from these tanks. Goliaths are coming down, but they're not going to last long, especially once these tanks get target fired over here. He's trying to save what SCVs he can. He needs to get these Goliaths all the way up next to these holes. Get these tanks shooting themselves. Alright, we have Yamato being researched for Quim. And he's just taking this little kill squad of tanks and Goliaths and keep moving up the map. Staying unsieged, he's just running these tanks up. And here's another base that's going to be denied. Now this base is in elevated position. This one's going to be tough to retake if Quim decides to kind of siege up here and make a strong point. Some units are trickling in for Genesis, but Quim is just knocking them out. Right now the supply lead for Quim is really growing out of hand. He's got troops just rallying across the map. Purple streams just taking over the bottom half. Great production here from Quim though. A lot of production here, or I'm sorry, Genesis. A lot of production for Quim as well, and he's got battle cruisers on the field with Yamato. So any turrets that do exist are just going to be one-shotted. Okay, Genesis setting up a decent siege line here. This is a tough place to assault through. But might be able to do it with just sheer numbers. Alright, Genesis opening volleys here on these tanks moving down this ramp. But the counter siege is about to take place. And these tanks are dropping like crazy. More trickling in from the main. Looks like Genesis will hold this initial push, but there's a whole nother grip of tanks, including battle cruisers, heading up here. And this is going to be tough to get rid of. This is going to be real tough to get rid of. And this is going to be another denied base for Genesis, putting him back down on 2 while Quim is expanding to another. Trying to save the SCVs, but they are just melting to these siege tanks. Right now, Quim has more than double the supply of Genesis. This looks like it's about it. Absolute insanity. The tanks and battle cruisers just continuing to be rallied across the map. Setting up here. Not much that Genesis can be able to do. If Quim can get on top of this base, it's lights out. Genesis having already mined out his main. Yamato takes out that turret, opening up more opportunity for these battle cruisers. Now the Goliaths are showing up, but the combination of these battle cruisers and the tanks, they're not going to do much. And Genesis knows it, throws in the towel, and that is going to be a 2-0 series for Quim. Very cool. And especially cool because it was a TVT that didn't take all night.